In just 14 seconds, Denzel Washington shattered a silence that had lingered in darkness for over 2 decades. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He simply pressed play. One video. A recording Pam Bondi never intended the public to see. The faces captured weren't anonymous. One of them was Donald Trump, laughing with Epstein, surrounded by underage girls. What kind of truth lies so deep it takes a grieving mother, a scuffed USB, and Denzel Washington to bring it roaring into the light? The red tally light blinked once, then fixed into a steady, merciless glare. Live. No edits, no protection. The oversight hearing chamber pulsed like a church under siege. The air hung heavy, velvet thick. Even the microphones felt like they were holding their breath. C-SPAN cameras moved slowly, like predators zeroing in on a heartbeat, and they knew exactly where to find it. Far left, seated calm and poised, was Denzel Washington. Still. The only sign of life was the slow rise and fall of his chest, unshaken, as if he'd faced fire before and didn't flinch at sparks. In his hand, a manila folder frayed at the edges, thick with unspoken truth. No one in that room knew what it held. Not the journalists, not the chair of the committee, not even the Republican 2 seats down who kept glancing nervously his way, half expecting combustion. Behind Denzel, his team sat locked in. They had seen it. America hadn't. Not yet. Then came the sharp clicks of high heels. Pam Bondi strode in like she owned the space. Not a strand of hair out of place. Her tailored suit looked carved from steel. She was flanked by legal aides and a PR handler in discreet communication. Bondi didn't scan the room. She didn't have to. She moved with the air of someone who'd already written the script. She took her seat, face lit by the camera glare, smiling like a woman who believed she'd already won. "Good morning," she greeted, syrup smooth but laced with ice. "I'm here today to reaffirm the Justice Department's transparency, especially concerning the Epstein documents." Behind her, a CNN reporter scribbled. An MSNBC producer rolled their eyes. Denzel didn't flinch, didn't blink. He waited. Bondi's voice was controlled, every syllable polished to gleam. She rattled off page numbers, timestamps, unsealing dates. She painted a tidy picture. Minor redactions, only for national security and the survivors' protection. But Denzel knew better. He held the real version, the one that bled. Rep. Jamie Raskin adjusted his glasses, found Denzel's eyes, and gave the nod. The moment had arrived, but still, Denzel didn't move, not yet. He let Bondi sail through her performance, eyes sharp for the lie she'd inevitably deliver. And then she said it. "We've made every file public," Bondi declared, hands clasped like a preacher delivering gospel. "There's nothing left to hide." Silence. The pressure shifted. The room went still. It wasn't nerves in Denzel's chest. It was gravity, like the truth itself had just leaned in. He let her. Sit with those words. Let them marinate. Then his fingers tapped the folder, once, twice. Then stillness again. What do you do when someone swears the table is clean, but you're holding the card that topples it all? You wait. You hold the moment. You don't blink. Pam Bondi leaned in again, a little sharper this time. "This hearing isn't for theater," she said. "It's for truth. The files have been released. No omissions." Her tone was tight, overconfident. That's when Denzel moved. Not dramatically, deliberately. From inside his jacket, he pulled a small USB. Worn, scratched, marked with a fading label, DOJ internal copy. He didn't speak, didn't look at Bondi. He walked across the room with the calm of inevitability and placed the drive in the technician's hand. The tech hesitated. The DOJ seal seemed to burn on contact. Denzel's eyes didn't waver. The message was clear. The technician connected the drive. Bondi's posture changed. An aide whispered frantically in her ear. Her jaw tensed. The C-SPAN camera light blinked alive. The screen lit up. A shaky handheld video played. Palm Beach, 2002. Backyard. Swimming. Pool. 3 girls, maybe 14 or 15, lounging in swimsuits. Then Epstein entered the frame, beaming. And beside him, Trump, hand on his back, laughing like it was just another summer day. A woman in the front row gasped. "That's Amanda," she said, rising halfway. "That's my daughter." Her hands covered her mouth. The tears came before. The words could finish. Bondi bolted upright. "This footage is not verified," she snapped. "It's not part of the official archive." Denzel turned to her, calm, precise. "Exactly." The video froze. Trump and Epstein, captured mid-laugh. That moment wasn't just evidence, it was the fuse. Bondi thought the dead couldn't speak. But videos don't forget. Another woman rose. "That's my sister, Emily. She was 14. Her voice broke as she held up a visitor's badge. "You said her name wasn't on the list. You said everything was released." Security twitched. Denzel raised a hand. They stilled. The screen went black, but the image burned on. Denzel stepped forward. "You didn't redact names," he said slowly. "You redacted the truth." His words were etched into the air. "This is not politics. This is power, and what it chooses to protect." He pulled another document from his folder. A DOJ memo, stamped with Bondi's signature. Above it, a sticky note. "Do not release. Classify. Trump presence." The ripple hit instantly. Denzel didn't need a microphone. He didn't need outrage. He just said, "Truth doesn't vanish. It waits for someone to press play." Then he sat, as calm as ever. Pam Bondi's hands curled around the table like it was a lifeline. Her voice cracked. "That clip isn't certified. It could be fake." Denzel opened his briefcase, drew one sheet. No binder, no fanfare. Just one official page. He walked to the screen, held it to the camera. DOJ, seal in silver. "The video you just watched," he said, "was reviewed. It was redacted." His eyes flicked to Bondi. "By you." The monitor updated. DOJ internal log. Footage ID 283. Redacted for national security. But a line circled in red ink. Trump presence. Denzel spoke low but clear. "This is not about verification. This is about suppression." Bondi stood suddenly. "Those redactions were protocol." Denzel moved in. Only one video was flagged. Only one presence triggered redaction. He laid the page flat. Each committee member could read all names, released, deceased, minor, except one, Trump. Status, withhold indefinitely. Jamie Raskin's voice broke the silence. "Are you saying the Attorney General protected the former president?" Denzel didn't blink. "I'm not saying it. I'm proving it." The chamber fell quiet, not with shock, but with recognition. Then Raskin produced another folder. "Mr. Washington isn't the only one receiving intel. A whistleblower memo, DOJ emails, all confirming it. The final email on screen read, Directive remains unchanged. Withhold. Initials. PB Denzel leaned back. His job was done. The evidence spoke now. The press exploded. Every outlet cut to live coverage. CNN, MSNBC, even Fox News. A flashback clip played. Bondi 6 months earlier, promising transparency. "We have released all materials," she had said. Now her own lie echoed back. Bondi reached for her water. Didn't drink. No help from aides. Silence exposed her more than questions ever could. Denzel stood again. Was this national security or personal protection? His voice was low but surgical. Bondi didn't respond. Her silence became a confession. "Either you made a legitimate call," he said, walking calmly toward the dais. Or you made a political choice to shield a man who gave you power. Bondi finally spoke. There's always discretion, interpretations, gray areas. Denzel pointed to the paper. Not gray, red, and circled. No one gasped anymore. We'd crossed into reckoning. A girl in the front wiped tears from her cheeks. She didn't need to speak. The world had seen now. The file, the footage, the cover-up. Titles didn't matter anymore. Only the truth did. The committee called for a 10-minute recess, but nobody moved. No one needed to. The silence was the verdict. In just 14 seconds, Denzel Washington shattered a silence that had lingered in the shadows for 23 years. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't have to. He simply played a single video. One clip Pam Bondi never wanted the public to see. The faces on screen weren't anonymous. One of them was Donald Trump. Trump laughing with Epstein and 3 underage girls. What kind of truth gets buried so deep it takes a man like Denzel, a small USB, and a grieving mother to wrench it back into the daylight? The red tally light blinked once, then held in a fixed, merciless glare. Live broadcast. No edits. No protection. The Oversight Committee chamber felt more like a cathedral under siege. The air hung heavy, velvet thick. Even the microphones seemed to hold their breath. C-SPAN's cameras panned slowly, as if searching for a pulse, and they knew where to find it. At the far left of the panel sat Denzel Washington, unmoved. His only motion was the measured rise and fall of his chest, steady like a man who's faced infernos and won't flinch at sparks. In his hand rested a weathered manila envelope, edges frayed, contents weighty with consequence. No one in that room had seen what it held. Not the media, not the public, not even the Republican chair seated 2 spots away, who kept eyeing it. Like Denzel might set the room ablaze at any moment. Behind him, his team sat poised, silent, composed. They'd seen it. America hadn't. Not yet. Then came the heels. Pam Bondi entered like she was stepping onto a courtroom stage built for her alone. Not a strand of hair out of place. Her suit sharp enough to cut through stone. Flanked by 2 legal aides and a PR staffer with an earpiece, she didn't glance around. She didn't need to. She walked straight to the table and sat like the spotlight belonged to her. She smiled into the cameras with the ease of someone convinced they'd already penned the last word. Maybe she believed she had. "Good morning," she began, her voice smooth but chilled around the edges. "I'm here today to reaffirm the Department of Justice's commitment to transparency, especially concerning the Epstein case files." Behind her, a CNN reporter scratched notes. An MSNBC producer rolled their eyes. Denzel didn't move, didn't blink. No need. Bondi spoke with the rhythm of someone who had rehearsed every word in the mirror. Page numbers, timestamps, the date the files were unsealed. She painted her narrative in velvet tones, insisting redactions were limited, necessary to protect survivors and national interests. But Denzel knew better. He had the raw cut. The version that didn't whisper, the one that bled. Across the room, Representative Jamie Raskin adjusted his glasses. His eyes locked with Denzel's, a subtle nod, the cue. But Denzel didn't move. Not yet. He let Bondi sail through her performance, waiting for the moment, the one line she couldn't resist, the lie she'd rehearsed too well. Then it came. "We've released everything," Bondi said, folding her hands like she'd just read scripture. "There is nothing left to hide." Silence. No one in the room breathed. The air shifted. The pressure inside Denzel's chest wasn't fear. It was gravity, like the truth itself was leaning forward. Still, he stayed still. He let the silence settle. Let her bask in her own words. Words that were about to turn to ash. His fingers tapped the envelope. Once. Twice. Then stopped. What do you do when a top official swears the record is complete, but you're holding the evidence that proves it's not? You wait. You hold the silence. And then, when the moment arrives, you press play. Denzel Washington didn't flinch. His hand rested on the envelope like it held back an inferno. Pam Bondi leaned toward the mic again. Her voice remained honey smooth, dipped in the smug certainty of someone who believed they'd walked through fire untouched. "If this hearing is really about the truth," she said, "I welcome it. But I will not validate political theatrics, meant to distort facts. The department has released every Epstein-related file, no omissions, no exceptions. That's not my opinion. That's the record." She nodded to herself. Her aides exchanged brief, anxious glances. Denzel remained still. His silence wasn't absence. It was discipline. A storm crouched just beyond the skyline. Raskin gave another nod, smaller this time. Denzel moved. From his jacket, he drew a small, scuffed silver USB. Its label faded but legible, DOJ internal copy. Without looking at Bondi, he stood, calm, unhurried. He crossed the chamber like a man delivering a sentence. Not a file. The technician seated at the control station froze. His hand hovered over the console, unsure if touching that drive might drag him into something above his clearance, but Denzel's steady gaze gave him all the permission he needed. Chattur. Technician looked again at the DOJ seal. Then he plugged it in. Pam Bondi shifted in her chair. One of her aides whispered urgently into her ear. Her face twitched. The red camera light blinked on. The screen sputtered. Static. Then, video. Timestamp. Palm Beach, 2002. A backyard. Poolside. 3 teenage girls lounging in swimsuits. Nervous laughter. Jeffrey Epstein enters the frame. Grinning. Beside him, Donald Trump. His hand casually resting on Epstein's shoulder. Laughing, unbothered. The audio was faint. It didn't need volume. Truth doesn't need to shout. A girl, maybe 15, waved toward the camera. Epstein leaned close, whispered something to Trump. Trump raised a champagne glass and laughed. A gasp from the front row. A name broke through the silence. "That's Amanda," a woman whispered, voice crumbling. "That's my daughter." Her hands flew to her mouth. But the sobs came anyway. Pam Bondi shot to her feet, her voice sharp but cracked. "This footage is not part of the official archive," she snapped. "It's unverified. It wasn't cleared for public release." Denzel turned toward her, his voice cut clean and calm. "Exactly." The video froze on Trump's smile, Epstein's smirk, the girl mid-laugh. Time stopped. The lie didn't. Bondi stumbled forward, trying to regain her footing. "This isn't verified," she repeated louder. "It could be doctored." Denzel turned back to the tech. A single nod. "Play the first 14 seconds again." The room watched. This time, the silence was suffocating. Epstein entered first. Shirt open. A girl clinging to his side. Trump followed, laughing. Another girl twirled, clearly prompted. A new voice cracked the quiet. "That's my sister," a woman choked. She held up a visitor badge. "That's Emily. She was 14. Every head turned. Bondi's confidence faltered. The girl's voice didn't. "You said all the names were released," she said, shaking. "You said there was nothing else." Security stepped forward. Denzel raised his hand. They stopped. The screen went black, but no one could unsee it. Denzel walked back to the center of the room. His steps didn't echo. They landed like closing doors. "You didn't redact for safety," he said, each word etched in steel. "You redacted for protection, not for the victims, but for power." Pam Bondi opened her mouth. Nothing came. Denzel returned to the table, opened the envelope. One document. No theatrics. He placed it face up on the desk. A DOJ memo. Her signature. A sticky note in red ink. Do not release. POTUS presence. Classify. Ripples moved through the chamber like tremors. This wasn't just omission. It was intent. He said quietly, almost to himself, "The truth doesn't disappear. It waits." And then he sat. What do you do when the lie is caught on tape? And the lie was that the tape didn't exist. You let it play, and let the truth burn its way through the silence.